Without any further ado, let's welcome Mr. DanBroyles, Pastor DanBroyles.
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm just glad to be here, and I love what you guys are doing at Salvation Army. I've been over there actually with my kids before, helping out.
They volunteered.
And so that's been great. Speaking of places to serve, tomorrow my kids and I are going to Children's Hunger Fund in Sylmar. It's a great place to do these type of things. Children's Hunger Fund collects food from all over LA County and ships it to third world nations. And they have assembly lines that people come and volunteer and package the food. So I'm taking kids that I coach basketball with, and we're going to package food and get sent out Africa, South America, Asia, all over the world. So it's called Children's Hunger Fund.
Yes, something again.
And it's in Sylmar. And so they actually have opportunities twice a week for a whole year, where they set box food up for people around the world. So I have to admit, I am an odd person in that I like the real delicate, awkward parts of life that most people avoid. So before working at Grace Baptist Church, I was a social worker with Children's Services, and I was the one investigating child abuse cases here in Santa Clarita and San Fernando Valley. And so I'd be the one going to homes, taking kids, put them in foster care. So when I go on vacation, I read books on suicide, domestic violence, grief. Because my heart is to help those that need help, right? And those are topics the average person doesn't want to talk with. If I don't want somebody to talk next to me on the plane, and they go, "Hey, what you up to?" "Oh, I'm just doing some research on shame." They're done talking with me. Right? So I'm in the trenches with that. I'm really involved with some stuff here in Santa Clarita on human trafficking. And so part of it is learning to give a voice. So one of the things that's happened in our culture lately is this whole Me Too kind of topic that's all over kind of the news, all over the place. So I have some strong opinions on that. One of the things we offer at our church actually is a group for women who have past sexual abuse. And we've been doing that for 10, 12 years free anyway in the community. And so this Me Too thing, I feel like there's something about it in the news probably like every 3 days where someone says, "Well, Me Too," and this idea of sexual behavior that perpetrated on, and my concern of it is it's so publicized, it's really just a personal thing. And so I want to talk about how to serve people who have some of those issues in their background. And I don't want to talk about the media part of it, because I don't trust half the things I hear anyways, just because it's on whatever media source you get. I'm a little skeptical. But one of the delicate parts of our culture is sexual abuse occurs approximately for 1 out of every 3 or 1 every 4 females in our country, which is just awful to think about. Again, nobody likes to wake up and think about these things, and if I come across as a little too blunt about these things, I'm not trying to be insensitive. It's just I literally have these conversations every day. These are my everyday conversations. And for men, as you would talk about less, but for men, it's approximately 1 out of 6 to 1 out of 7. Right? Men have that in their story. And so, people don't like to talk about it because it is awkward, and what do you even say, what do you do with that? And so one of the reasons I think the Me Too movement has grown is people want to have a voice. People really crave to have a voice when they have felt voiceless in parts of their life. And so I hear it every day in my office where people say, "I have a voice." So what happens is, there's more freedom. I think people now have to have a voice. So that's why people are sharing stuff from 1983, 1973.
It's crazy.
Right? You hear these people, "We know this actor so-and-so did this to me, 40 years ago," because for 40 years they felt voiceless. And now they feel like there's a chance to have a voice. And one of the reasons it's so pervasive right now is one of the worst parts of abuse is the people who know about it and are silent.
Well, that's why I have a problem with it.
Right.
All of those people knew about it.
Right.
They all knew about it.
Right, the whole culture.
It's not that they didn't have a voice, they
Right.
didn't speak up.
Right, well, what happens is,
I'm talking about not the victims.
right.
Okay.
Other people knew
Yeah,
that
the
this
people
was
involved.
happening to people,
Right,
and those people kept their mouths shut.
Exactly. This goes across different types of our culture, whether it's, Hollywood culture, to you hear about school districts and, LA Unified stories, to Catholic Church, and this crosses all different. And the parts that really, I think, just tick people off is the silence. I don't know if many know the gymnastics coach for the USA Olympics, right? And there's not how many victims, right?
Yeah.
People knew about what was going on. And so I've spent thousands of hours with victims. I'd be the ones interviewing kids, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and obviously adults too, trying to, what does healing look like? What does recovery look like? What does the impact look like? And so one of the things that can happen that's really needed for service is believing. And I'm not saying 100% of people on the news are telling the truth, but I'm saying if a private friend comes to you and says, or that cousin comes to you and says, here's what happened to me, their biggest fear is you won't believe them. And so, because nobody wants to talk about this. Nobody says, hey, happy Thanksgiving, let's talk about our past trauma. Right? And that sounds ridiculous. We just want to have a good time and have some good food and do some of those things. And so, but if you just think of about, 1 in 4 women, 1 in 6 men, that is just an astronomical amount of people. I was talking to a friend of mine who helps lead a local 12-step AA type AA group in town. And this is just this one guy's perspective. We're just close friends. And I said to him about this idea of sexual abuse and all these things. And he said, in his opinion, 60% of the men that come through AA have sexual abuse in their past. And it's easier to get clean from AA than it is to talk about that because of the shame, especially for men. It's even harder for men to talk about it. So part of the concern, and I'm just really glad you guys have this heart to serve the community, is there's this idea that people are objectified. I mean, the objectification of people, and especially as females, is so pervasive. So let me explain what I mean by that. So, I was on my way to school with my kids, and I have the past. I kind of have a double background. I'm a licensed marriage family therapist, but I'm also a pastor, kind of the counseling world and the faith-based world. And I asked my kids. I said, "Tell me who is the most famous person right now your friends talk about on the playground. They're in elementary school." And so I think this was a little while ago, and we're Seahawk fans. They mentioned Russell Wilson. We like the Seahawks. I think some singer, I forget who it was. And I go, so I started talking I wonder if Russell Wilson has a sister. I wonder if he ever struggles with depression. And then I go, how about before we do this routine in our car? I said, how about we say this quick prayer for Russell? And they're like, Dad, you're so weird. No one talks like that.
No one talks like that.
Right? And because Russell Wilson is there for their entertainment. Right? And if you hear athletes over time, one of the things they eventually will say is, I'm a person first before I was an athlete, before I was on Twitter, before all those things. And so, the objectification. I mean, just think of female actresses once they get a little bit older, what happens?
No jobs.
No job, right? And so this idea that people are objectified has just fueled some of these things. I mean, just think of the whole porn industry. I was looking at the research, that about 25% of all searches online are pornographic. Right? I mean, it's just, So, I know I'll never be a guest speaker again after some of these statements, but I'm going to open this up for a little discussion. What do you think about the fact that people have to earn their value as a human being? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah. There has to be something more than just a surface for me to really like them, just because they're pretty or handsome or whatever. It isn't enough. There has to be some substance and some morals and whatever for me to be comfortable around them.
But what do you think about they're just intrinsically valued? What do you think?
But the problem is with value is that how you classify
How you define it? Absolutely.
For those, I had a handicapped son.
Yep.
So his self-esteem was much lower. You have to, where someone who was very athletic or very pretty, their self-value, because people responded to them. For someone who is very shy or withdrawn or whatever, or has been hurt or not feeling well, the self-perception is not good. And value should come from within. So our society doesn't help that at all.
Right. Are you going to add something?
To flip that around,
Sure.
I think people are selfish by nature,
Okay.
and they go after an individual for selfish reasons. So if that person, it may not even matter if they're attractive looking or not.
Right.
It may just, they're objectifying that person as to being something that they need in that moment to serve whatever purpose they serve.
That's how you gain from you.
Yes. So that's what I find intrinsic in all people, and we've learned to somehow filter some of that, so we wear a mask as to we're not going to project that we're greedy or we want to use somebody for whatever reason.
Right.
But we are manipulative. Society, people are manipulative.
People want to get what they want to get. Yeah.
Yes.
I think it becomes easier to objectify people if we think they start out wrong, selfish, and bad, and that kind of thing. I think people come into the world, they are in themselves valuable, and we need, again, honoring that, and instead of, so I think we start by looking at people, we get these ideas of, everybody's born simple and all that stuff. I don't think Bob teaches that.
Okay. So I think part of this is, this is my personal opinion, people have to earn their value. People are disposable. Right? They're only good for what they can perform for us. Sometimes, right? And so, and there's a lot more philosophical things. I mean, my personal thing is, I think people are designed with intrinsic value because they're made in the image of God, as my pastor kind of speaking. And so, my concern is, for those of you who've had kids, you believe your kids are valuable and then have to earn it. They don't have to give you grades to be valuable in your eyes, right? They don't have to do certain things to be loved, right? So, one of the things I think is just really vital is seeing people just as humans first, not their value first, not their looks first, and all that thing. So one of the things that's growing in Santa Clarita, and this is to me one of the ultimate evils as a result of this, is human trafficking that happens in Santa Clarita. So currently, I am the chairman of a task force here in Santa Clarita that we do some stuff because there's kids in Santa Clarita being trafficked, being sold here in Santa Clarita, and most of it starts online, where you have a perpetrator visits a vulnerable girl, 12, 13, 14 years old online. Her parents are going to, let's say, ugly divorce, her dad's a raging alcoholic, those type of vulnerable things. And he meets her and he grooms her online. There's whole websites how to pimp a girl. And they tell her this, do this, this. Eventually they meet her at Magic Mountain. They offer her free tickets in the summer to get in there, or to the mall, pay for her clothes. And then one thing leads to another. After I've done all these things, will you do a favor for me? And then she does the sexual favor for her his friend. And then once one time happens, he says, you know, if you ever say anything, I'm going to put it all over social media. Every friend will know every detail of what you did. So she's trapped. So the gangs in LA County now make more money off trafficking than they do selling guns. Right? Just how many guns are sold in gangs in LA County. It's huge. But more money is made off that because once you sell a gun, sale's over. Unfortunately, once you pimp this girl, you do it again and again. And so to me, that's talking about the ultimate objectification of somebody. And I have a friend of mine, Captain Carlos Marquez, with the sheriff, and he says, Santa Clarita is one of the worst areas in LA County for the online trafficking. Because in downtown LA, it's not online, it's just brutal force kind of. But in Santa Clarita, you have a 12-year-old girl, home alone, parents both working 60 hours a week. She has no filters on the phone or the iPad. The guy reaches out to her, she says yes, let's connect. It's really sweet at first. And so that's, I think, just kind of like this next progression of the objectification of people. The average lifespan of that girl now is 7 years. It's her lifespan.
And I heard that each girl or boy is worth $250,000. That's how they see it, how much they're going to make from the
And part of it, there's so much online to make it accessible. All he has to do is get an Uber to pick her up, or to some guys another place across town. He's not even part of it. And so we're trying to prosecute these guys. So, just to let you know about the event, just because we do this task force with about 15 agencies here in Santa Clarita, on September 21st, it's a Friday, from 8 to 12:30 at the college, we're going to have a half-day conference on understanding trafficking and helping in the community. What can you do to make a difference?
At COC?
Yep, at COC. At their, there's a gym right there.
This is like the third year, this will be the
Third
third
year.
year.
That's
Yeah,
on.
it's been,
Yep.
I've been to them in there for.
Yep. And so,
I'm sorry, what's the actual name of
it's called It Still Happens Here. And it's being trapped.
Are we?
So anybody can show up to this. There's no cost to it. We're not trying to make money off this. There's no cost to it. Well, part of service is giving the voiceless a voice, right? Because that 14-year-old no longer has a voice. Who's going to have a voice for that girl? Now, it can be voice sometimes, but probably 90% of it is female. So that's just, I think, something in our community that Santa Clarita doesn't want to talk about much. Yes?
Resources, give me something to put a title in it. Me Too resources, counseling resources.
So these resources,
service.
these resources are, most of them are for, I would say, sexual abuse, trafficking, sexual trauma. So some of these, one of them that's actually, 1 in 6, for instance, is a nationwide resource for men with past sexual abuse. The only one like that. There's another called Treasures resource listed here. I'm a Treasure. Treasures, the director of that, her name is Harmony Dust. She was trafficked herself, sexually abused by men and women as a little girl, foster care, horrible stories. She got out of the industry. This church was able to help her in LA, and she started a nonprofit. And now what they do is they help women who want to get out of the sex industry. And she has a thriving nonprofit that travels the world. So she'll be kind of our keynote speaker on September 21st. So what they do is they actually visit strip clubs and gives gifts to the women. Says, we want you to treat you with no strings attached. If you want to be loved somewhere, let us know. 90% of the women in strip clubs have past sexual abuse. That's the statistics. Right, and so what happens is, one of the awful ramifications of sexual abuse, no matter the age, is a boundary is crossed, obviously, right? That whatever age it is as a minor. And what happens is having people cross your boundaries becomes the normal for the rest of your life. So you let bosses take advantage of you, you let the spouse take advantage of you, and your no muscle is almost broken. And so if you manage the ramifications of you let other people take advantage of you, I literally had a man in my office about 2 weeks ago. He was like, I'm really here for marriage stuff, and they gave one little hint about this issue. I'm like, tell me about your boundaries. He's like, well, I don't like to say no to anybody. In my brain, what about this? He goes, yeah, well, I can tell the story when he was in 4th grade. And I go, well, it starts back there. Your boundary was broken, and now you don't have any boundaries. And then he goes, and then he's resentful of people that take advantage of him. A boss wants him to work 80 hours a week. You know, all these things that kind of happen. And so it's just something again that it's just so awkward for people to talk about. That there's this combination of people living in silence, which really means they live all alone. If you want to have someone suffer deeply, have them do it alone, right? So for instance, what's the difference between suffering with somebody that has your back versus suffering with someone that's there for you, like if you can really trust them? How big a difference is that? Huge, right? Having one person go, I'm here, I'm there for you, I got your back, I support you, versus I have nobody is huge. So that's one of our desires. We almost have like a counseling kind of department within our church that's free for anybody in the community, whether it's these issues or other issues, because we know there's just a lot of pain out there. Yeah?
I do have a question on your resource list.
Sure.
It was a few months back, we had a gal, her name was Teresa Chorswall.
Okay.
She's an MPH, and she's from the organization Journey Out.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff.
She said that she actually works with the sheriffs out here in Santa Clarita, and I was wondering if you wanted me to send contact or...
But we actually, the conference they will have a table there. Okay. We actually will have one of we actually are partnering with them to have a table after that. So yeah, no, they do really good stuff. They really do. Absolutely.
I think it's great that organizations can collaborate.
Right. The other one that's really interesting and great to know about is Zoe. Zoe, the new law in their office, they have a home for trafficked girls in Thailand. Obviously it's terrible over there. But they're actually building the first home in LA County for trafficked girls when they're caught by the sheriffs here. Where do they send those girls? So they bought 50 acres off the 14 freeway, and they will open up early 2019 and actually have a place and counseling specifically for them where they need some help. So it's just a really neat organization that we work with. Our church has actually financially supported them. I just think from a personal kind of faith-based perspective, when I study the Bible, Jesus is the most confrontational with the religious leaders and the kindest to the vulnerable. The vulnerable, there was a lot more, I would say, tender to that.
What happened to that?
Right? So the woman who's been married 5 times and probably has trauma about it, it's a guess. The woman who, the religious leader who caught in adultery, there's all these kind of stories where I would say, and the arrogant religious leaders he confronted the most. Right?
He has the person or cast person
right. And so, when I was a social worker, one of the questions I ask families all the time is I would just say, where's the pain in your family? Where's the pain in your family? And it's amazing what people would say, right? My theory is every family is normal until you get to know them. Right, including my own.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, my family doesn't look so bad.
Right.
It's normal.
Okay. So there's a lot more I can say about this, but I just want to pause and go, what are you guys thinking? What's going on in your minds? I know this is not your normal Wednesday morning, like, hey, this is a great topic to think about.
No, it is.
But I just, yeah. What do you got?
How does Santa put Rita? ranked #1 for grooming.
Money, they have the money for the computers.
So you're telling me you got a bunch of dudes around this entire town buying traffic here?
They don't have to live in the town. Well, they can live any place.
Well,
The girls are coming from this area.
the girls, all the girls coming from San Valley up here because the guys have the money. Yeah, it's,
That's heavy.
Yeah,
It is.
that's why you need filters on your kids' computers and telephones and iPads and.
yeah, so, just personally, I have 2 boys, you know, they're 13 and 10. My 13-year-old got his first cell phone. He thought he was the last kid on the planet to get it. Because a lot of second graders now have their own iPhones. At 6 years old. And I wrote a personal 1-page contract that he had to sign. And we spent an hour talking about use of technology. Because what happens is the parents who are raising kids, that wasn't an issue, so they don't know how to parent. Because there's been no paradigm set by their parents, because it wasn't, iPhones weren't around.
I find this to be the most difficult thing.
Yep.
Because I did the same thing, and you see this addiction everywhere.
Yep.
And the strongest opponent for this is grandma. Grandma is always telling these kids to get off their phone. And where does grandma spend every waking moment of the day? On that damn phone. And when you tell her that, she says, no, I'm not. I'm organizing I'm sending and it's everywhere.
So, the
only people who are not addicted to their phone are the people that don't have their phones with them right now. Who doesn't have their phone with them? See? Look at that. Everybody's got their phone with them. 2 people in the room. And I am so conscious of this, I never carry my phone with me. I leave it in the car. Because I don't know.
See, that's.
No, allow me to weigh in on that. I have found in my own personal relationships with my new wife, when I go to dinner, I make sure the phone's in the other room. We're going to have a conversation, I make sure my phone is not here. I also make sure the TV is either muted or off.
Yeah.
Because I am distracted, and we're all distracted. So, that's what we said.
So actually,
But that is the key, because it's not the phone, just like it's not the gun that kills a
That's the
person.
tool.
It
It's
is
the tool.
the individual's choice to either be engaged in the moment and not pay attention. But it doesn't mean that having a phone with you is a bad thing. You can mute it, you can look at it for the time, you can add notes to it, you can see a calendar. I mean, your life is in your phone.
It is a wonderful tool. However,
However,
the way that this device is set up, it pops up with, like, if I get a text from somebody important in my life, it just throws itself on the screen, and it says, I'm stranded inside the road. It doesn't matter how good his talk is right now, I'm going to go. So it's a great tool, but Frank's got a point. Obviously, he's going to find out about that loved one 10 minutes from now. I'm not saying that's a better thing.
And that brings me to the point that people expect now that you're going to have your phone with you and they're going to see that message. Because I have a husband who does that kind of thing. And he goes, didn't you get my message? I go, no, I didn't even look at my phone. So, I find it, I don't have a problem.
See, I don't believe it's their fault. I don't believe it's their fault. My kids have been raised at a level of wealth that did not exist when I was a kid. You didn't have automatic roll-up windows. You had to roll the damn window up yourself. You didn't have every car with air conditioner. Now, everything that used to be a luxury is standard. Who in their right mind believes that an $850 tool belongs to a 6-year-old? Ooh, who's pushed this on me? So, I'm going to tell you who did it. You did it.
evolution.
Every one of you did. You all raised the standard. You took what used to be a luxury item and you said, now everyone should
That's
have
part of
that.
consumerism in America.
And syndrome said it best. When everyone is special, no one is.
Last one, we'll wrap it up. Here's what I'm going to say. One of the areas of our culture is we don't have much resilience, especially our kids, because We see pain is bad. We see suffering. We see perseverance is bad. Really, suffering is just an indicator, right? And so what happens is we struggle is bad, right? If I coach some basketball for 10-year-old boys. If I tell a parent, I want your kid to suffer a little more in having some pain of running too much, the parent can flip out on me. Right? And so the idea that convenience is always good all the time. Right? And that doesn't always work in adult life. Actually, real quick thing about the phones. If you go out to eat, let's say a stone fire with a friend, and you set your phone right next to your drink, the research says your conversation will be 25% shorter.
Now, that's not taking into consideration.
Just that overall.
For women, the things don't fit in your pocket. That's the reason mine ends up on the table, is because I can't sit if I've got the phone in my pocket. Women's pants, a small pocket.
They're not meant to hold things.
No, no.
So just to wrap up, here's what I encourage you to do, is just think about where is the pain in people's lives. What people convey to Santa Cruz on the outside is not what always goes on the inside. It's amazing how many people I see in my church, in my community. I go, how you doing? Fine, good. I meet in my office, well, I'm on the verge of suicide. Right? So we make assumptions that just because we know the outside, we know the inside. And I think that is really pervasive, especially in our town. There's a lot more stuff I could say, but I know we are out of time. Thank you guys just for engaging.
I really appreciate everything you shared with us today. You're obviously a man full of wisdom, full of understanding and compassion. And I know our club will determine how we can support your group when we have our moment to figure that out. And we always give a coin. We have a great 4-way test that helps us to understand. Okay, it's going to be stuck in here. I need scissors. So this coin it's got the 4-way test on it. It's like a quick 4 questions to ask yourself when you're in the middle of conflict. And Greg has started this, and I like it. This is how you will measure your success. Actually, this is a very convenient tool to have in your pocket. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
Ryan, you make sure you little picture. It's our thing to do. Thank you so much, Dan. Really,
Email to me.